Hi, you're watching Thrash Talk Podcast.
Hey, we're back with Thrash Talk Podcast, episode 2. And on this episode, we're celebrating 40 years of DRI. We have Kurt Brecht in the house, and this is my host, Big Zeus.
What up?
Zeus, what you got to say to Kurt? Kurt, what's happening, bro?
Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, glad to be here.
Congratulations on
Yeah.
your longevity.
40
Thank
years
you.
of crashing all around.
Nobody's as surprised as we are
That's
that we made it so long.
I hear you, man. We're some silverbacks for sure, bro. But it's all good, man. It's great that guys are going out on tour. Like when? It's starting very soon, right?
Yes, 29th.
Wow. And how long is it? And where are you going?
It's Midwest, just 2 weeks, I believe.
Oh, okay. 2 weeks.
We come back, for a week or two, and then we go back out again.
Yeah. You guys play a lot, man, for sure. I mean, it was great seeing you up here. I think it was like a couple of years ago. My friend bought that board off you, my boy Sarge. What up, Sarge? From Moment of Truth. Give him a little drop there. But yo, Zeus got some questions for you there,
Listen,
bro.
the first question, Kurt. You're originally from Texas, Houston, Texas, correct?
Correct. That's where I live now.
Now, it might not make sense to a lot of people, but it will to you. Did you ever go to Gully's Bar?
Gullies?
Yeah.
I don't remember that name. It doesn't mean I didn't go there.
Or is it Gillies?
Gilly's
Oh,
Bar.
Gillies. No, I never did. No.
All right. Goalies is in Jersey.
Yeah, got confused.
He's
right
a
there.
Jersey guy.
He's a Jersey guy. That was right there. It was in Pasadena, right? Not too far from Houston.
Right. No, I never went there. It's just
All
different
right.
music,
Hey.
Hey, so like Couch Slouch is my favorite song. Like one of my favorites. I mean, those records, the Dealing With It and the early records, like it was totally in my blood. And Kenny, my bass player, original bass player of MOD, both of us in Angry Corpses now, we were such huge fans of DRI. I mean, always, we saw you guys when we were like 18 or 19 in New York City a couple times, whatever. Fuck, I think it was with TOC or something like that. It was great.
We toured with them a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, it had to be that tour. So, we got Walt Monster Ryan playing drums with us. So he has played with you guys for quite a while as well.
Yeah, that was a good time for sure.
Yeah, man.
It's hard to keep him in a band though for a long time. You know what I mean?
I know. He says he's a drum whore or whatever.
Yeah, he's got the wanderlust or whatever. We knew we couldn't keep him forever, but we had a good run for sure.
Yeah. He was on for a while with you guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome, man. And so what are your fondest memories of like the beginnings and stuff? And why don't you just tell us how you guys all formed in the very beginning, how it all happened? Were you all local Texas boys?
Let's go, man. It's Tony Slippers. You're watching Thrash Talk Podcast.
No, Spike was from New York.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right. So during, I guess, the early 80s, late 70s, it was not a lot of jobs up there, up north.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of people from New York in that area were fleeing, coming down to Texas where there was a lot of jobs. So he was one of those people.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Came down.
Okay.
And let's see, one summer, my little brother went to California without me. I was finally old enough where I didn't have to go on the summer vacation with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to go. When he came back, he had discovered punk rock,
Oh,
There was some other
church camp somewhere or something?
no, just hanging out with my parents. But they had, his cousins there and stuff like that had already discovered punk, and then they turned him onto it.
Nice.
So once he came back, then he told me he was super excited, about this new kind of music and how great it was and how it was kids that were playing it and stuff, And before that, it was just, Ted Nugent, Black Sabbath, stuff like Deep Purple and stuff.
Yeah,
Adults.
Yeah. Hey, well,
So
that
then we started getting into it, started going to shows. Of course, after the first show, the first thing you think of is, I want to do that,
Yeah.
It seems reasonable and doable, I guess.
That's funny because that's happened to, I think, every musician that became one, or, they just went to that first show and the energy caught them, whatever the show may be. What was your first show that you ever went to?
A punk show, you mean?
What's your first punk show you went to?
TSOL. So that was a good one.
Wow.
Boy.
And Black Flag was the second one. So yeah, I got indoctrinated right in there. Some really talented bands.
Did you see them with Henry Rollins or which Black Flag?
Yes, it was with Rollins.
Wow.
But Des Cadena was playing second guitar.
Yeah, I know Des. So I had him at a show out here with CJ Ramon out here in Jersey. I had a club called the Blue Room, and we had a lot of great bands like Murphy's Law and all like that. So that was pretty much, you guys all met like that. Spike just moved out to Texas. How did you actually meet him?
See, our bass player, we already had kind of started a band, I guess you could call it that. It was terrible. We just kind of banged around and stuff.
It usually is in the beginning.
And we were looking for a guitar player, and we went through a couple high school kids, which none of them worked out. And our bass player, Dennis, he had just started a job, sales job, and one of his coworkers was Spike's roommate, another guy from New York. So they kind of moved down and lived together or whatever for a little while.
Okay.
And so he said, yeah, man, we're looking, he told that guy, we're looking for a guitar player. And I think he said, I'm moving back to New York, but my roommate plays guitar. And that was Spike. So we got his number and stuff, and he came over and jammed. And I remember like it was yesterday. You know what I mean? I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
That's awesome, man.
Because we finally had a real musician in there that could play bass and guitar and everything, and
yeah,
to him, we were pretty bad. I guess he must have seen something, or he had nothing better to do or something, because after that, we were militaristic in our regime of practicing six nights a week.
Geez, yeah, I hear you. When you're younger, the energy's there. Now you're lucky if you can go twice a week. But you know what? I say this to you, like, my friend, like, honestly, your voice, it always was the screaming, father voice of punk and hardcore to me. It was just awesome. It was always bitching and screaming voice. I love your voice, love that style. It drew me. I wanted to smash everything in my fucking house when I listened to it.
I don't even like it that much. I listen to Keith.
You're original, bro.
Like Keith Morris.
Nah, Kurt, you're an original, bro. D.R.I, your voice, it's like the bitching, fucking screaming voice.
Suit and tie guy.
Oh, it's great.
I listened to, I went and saw Circle Jerks, the other night, and I was depressed or emotional for days afterwards because his voice was just so good and so different. And I was just we stole so much from them, you know what I mean? Just the short, fast songs, everything. But his mine's just kind of generic compared to his, I think.
I think it all, look, you guys definitely made me want to play fast, when I started writing the song.
Circle Jerks play fast, everybody, yeah. Dead Kennedys, all those bands were playing fast. Bad Brains.
Speedy drumming, the quickness of everything, the hits and the quick stops and all that embodied what I wanted to do too. So when you heard Kenny Malone and My Rhythm Section on the first MOD record, half that record was Angry Corpse's music, which is the name that we have now. We went back to our old name, our rooted name. Right. We were a band that was formed already before we met Billy, and we had half that record of material written on that record. So that was all original, or our original music. The thing is we were already playing that quick, fast stuff, like our song Parents or Thrash or Be Thrashed on the album, Captain Crunch, all those songs, the speediness of it all. It definitely, you guys were an influence to us, as well as a lot of the early punk bands like you brought up, Circle Jerks and, Misfits and everybody. Hey, so get ready. We got Steve Zing from Danzig and Sam Hain interview right now with Metal Rob.
This is Rob with Thrash Talk Podcast. We're here at Lodi Pizza.
You ain't a pizzeria unless you got these in Jersey. That's how we do it. You gotta have these drinks here. You know what I'm talking about?
player from Danzig, Steve Zing. Hey, Steve.
How are you, man?
I'm really good. Thanks for coming.
You got it.
Appreciate it. Want to start by asking a couple general questions.
I guess the question I'm going to ask you, why are we in Lodi Pizza? Why? Because it's the best.
Lodi Pizza is the best. Right. You're absolutely right. You grew up in Lodi, right?
Yeah.
Class of 82?
Yeah.
That's the same year that Erie Vaughn and Doyle graduated?
Yeah.
Wow, what was that like?
You know, in the early 80s, you know, I guess, you know, we were all the music scene at that time. It was, you know, mostly in New Jersey, it was just filled with tribute bands and cover bands,
Right.
more than anything. So, you know, and punk and hardcore at the time was really on this growth spur, and, you know, kind of the three of us were really I guess the only musicians in town that made it out of town.
Was everybody walking in and down the hallways with the devil locks and stuff like that, or was that not necessarily?
Sometimes.
Right on, right on.
We all had headbands around our heads so we could actually see, keep our hair back.
Right on. Yeah, so you played with Sam Hain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Danzig now.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have your own punk band, or horror punk band, and it's called Black 29?
Yeah, Black 29. So I wouldn't say it's a horror punk band. It's musically, I can't really describe it. It's got elements of different things, because I hate to pigeonhole myself.
Right.
But besides that, I have my old punk band, you know, from back in the day, Morning Noise.
Oh, Morning
that
Noise.
We also reissued an album on Cleopatra Records. That, you know, stuff that was never released, and we're doing a new EP for them. So we got that and Black 29 coming both out on Cleopatra Records. So it should be an exciting year.
Oh, nice, nice. My friend's band, Chemical Straitjacket, got signed to Cleopatra Records.
Cool.
Do you know those guys?
I've heard of them. Yep.
Yeah, that's industrial.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yep. Cool.
Right. So you're a drummer by trade, right? How did you wind up playing bass?
So, I guess it was 1999, and we were doing the Sam Hain Danzig tour. And so it was going to be myself, London May, who took over drums from me when I left, and at the time Todd Youth, who was in Danzig he's from Murphy's Law, and blah blah blah.
Right.
So we were kind of in need of a bass player, and so Glenn said to me, he's like, "Why don't you play, you know, bass on the stuff that London played drums on, and he'll play bass." And neither one had played bass before, so I'm like, he goes, "Well, you could play rhythm guitar, so I'm sure you could play bass." I'm like, "Okay, sure." So I borrowed a bass from someone. I didn't own a bass, and I taught myself the songs, and that was that. And then
Then you were the go-to guy.
yeah, so it was like, I think it was 17 years ago, I get a call from Glenn, and he's like, "Hey, fired my bass player. I need a bass player." I'm like, "Well, I don't know any." He goes, "Well, how about you?" I'm like, "I'm not a bass player." He goes, "You could do it." I'm like, "Okay,
All right, I'm in. That's good.
let's do it."
Right on. Right on. So do you have any upcoming tours right now?
Yeah, we have May. We start May 5th in Reno. So I think we have about 11 dates.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so it's mostly West Coast, Midwest.
Riot Fest?
Not this year. No, not this year.
No.
Maybe next year.
All right.
Riot Fest are fun.
I know. That's what about any bands yourself you like now? Do you have any bands that you follow?
I heard a band last week called The Many Colored Death, and they just blew me away. 3-piece band from St. Louis, Missouri, and just blew me away.
Oh, right on.
I was just like, you know, you get to, you know, witness a lot of bands and stuff, and you're like, nobody, you know, there's a lot of the same type of bands out there, and a lot of bands that are great. But then, you know, every once in a while, one, you know, you hear it and you're like, wow. And I went up to the guy, I'm like, "Thank you for kicking my ass," because that was just amazing.
That's awesome.
You know,
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, when you hear a band and they kind of give you chills.
Yeah.
And you watch them play 3-piece, girl drummer, bass player, guitar player, just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check them out.
Yeah, really cool.
All right, I want to thank you for coming out with us.
Thank you, man.
Asking the question and talking to us.
You got it.
Yo, what's good? This is Jeremiah Mayhem, Concrete Dream. You rocking with Thrash Talk Podcast, yo. You heard?
Hey, so now we're going to go back to the interview with Kurt from DRI. From our area, the Misfits jammed a few blocks from us, so it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, man. We were right out of Lodi.
Well, speaking of them, I had a chance to talk to the guys in the Misfits and
Nice.
who else was there? Des Cadena too, because he's in the Misfits or whatever. But at least at that time, I don't know about now.
Yeah.
But they were like in the same little hotel lobby as me, and I just froze. You know what I mean? Like fanboyed so much that I didn't even say hi to them or anything. I just kind of came down, and they were all standing there in their full makeup, as we were playing the same show together.
That's wild.
They were down in Brazil, and I was like, so stupid. I could have told Des Cadena, but I'd just be another one of those people that come up and say, "Hey, I saw you guys at back in 1983."
Yeah, believe me, they like that. People like
to
hear that. People like to hear that you were there at some certain show, and it brings back and jogs the memory. It's great. I love when fans and people come up to me to talk about the team, talk about stuff. I don't like the guys that don't want to talk about it. Those are the assholes. I say, fucking assholes.
Well, the funny ones are when they come up and like, yeah, because they talk to me, like, oh, we smoked a joint, back in '86 outside your van, and they think we're buddies now and everything. Like they remember every bit of it. But for me, it must have been some good weed because I don't remember it at all. You know how it is. You just talk to so many people and everything. Unless it was about something very particular, I might remember it then.
Good, but I'm sure it wasn't as good as the shit they got out today.
True.
Hey, so let's let Zeus ask you questions. This is another big fan over here, man.
Oh, man, do it.
Our Cuban cohort over here. What's up, bro?
My friend Val in high school, could have been like 88, 89, he still is a big DRI fan. And I never heard of you guys at that time, because remember, music didn't move around the way it does now. You guys are Texas / West Coast. By the time it took a while. I was a big Anthrax guy, Overkill, being from the East Coast. And when I first heard you guys, I'm like, wow. I thought I knew Speed at that time until I'm like, violent. What I wanted to know, when you guys started out in Texas, you knocked around for a while. What spawned the move out to Frisco?
Well, we got a phone call. I was living at my parents' house going to art school. So we just had a regular phone, and my mother came and knocked on our jam room door and said, "Hey, you got a phone call." And I went out there, and it was Tim Yohannan from the magazine. What was it called? Now I can't remember.
That name sounds familiar.
What I'm talking about, the big fanzine back then.
Yeah, right.
I'll think of it. Maximum Rock and Roll.
Maximum, right.
Yeah, that's how we discovered bands back then. You had to have that, and you could look through. Besides friends telling you, "Hey, check out this."
Listen, all magazines. We didn't have fucking cell phones like these kids today. We had to go to the fucking pharmacy to find fucking metal magazines, Thrash magazines.
Right.
Ever.
Right, but it was the worldwide punk magazine, basically Maximum Rock and Roll. Anyway, Tim Yohannan was the owner or whatever, and he called and said, "Hey, I got your cassette, I think from Nikki Sickie from Verbal Abuse." We gave him the cassette, so he had got it. He said, "I think you guys could do really good here. It's like a ripe time or whatever. You need to get out of Houston and come here or whatever." And
yeah.
So we got on a show and we drove out there and played the show, and then after that, our bass player quit, and we're like, well, we already knew all the Houston bass players.
Yeah.
So but there was a lot more bass players running around in San Francisco at the time, so we just stayed there and got a bass player, and then took off on tour and never came back hardly.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, you guys, that's the thing. You guys have obviously had a lot of ups and downs, because that's what it is in this life, music life, and in our music, especially underground, hardcore, thrash, punk, metal, like whatever, man, whatever you cross over, basically.
Exchanging members, that's one of the hardest, toughest things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and Spike are meat and potatoes. You guys are DRI, so I mean, it's bottom line is, the sound. Like I said, your bitching voice sometimes, stays in my head. If I listen to DRI, you're in my head for like a week. If I got
scary.
If I got you up next, so you know what I mean. In fact, that's another thing. Like I'm getting older, but I'm getting faster. I have no idea why, but the shit's coming out. I'm quick, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought I'd be slowing up, but you guys too. I mean, what about some new material? What's going on?
We don't really talk about it much.
Oh, okay.
We just
playing the legacy.
I jammed with some guys during the pandemic. Jammed with some guys down the street because I'd moved, and then I guess I lived close to some guys that have a little studio in their house and stuff.
Yeah.
With all the instruments and stuff, and they're pretty much into the same kind of music. And we jammed together, and it was just like that old feeling, you know, the first time we played with DRI, because I hadn't written new songs in a long time, and just had that freshness, you know. And I came home and I was just feeling really high on life or whatever, you know what I mean? Just super stoked and excited about the songs and everything and how good they were. Wow. And then it broke up. They just broke up after we had 2 songs. One was really killer. The other one was pretty good. And the guy just said, nah, we're not doing it. I'm not doing it anymore. And that was it. It was all over.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, as far as DRI, you guys aren't writing anything new right now?
No, just touring.
Touring. I mean, listen, you don't really need to. The fucking music industry, honestly, if you could do, you guys have so many records out. If you could do what you
7 studio albums and plus the live records.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
You don't need to. You can bring, and your store is really cool, by the way. So like that's what I'm doing. I'm selling merchandise. I mean, this is something.
Yeah, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of that. That's what I've been doing, getting ready for the 40th anniversary tour designs and all that, you know, ordering everything up, make sure we got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm going to definitely come check these out at the show. We'd like to get a little live footage.
Spike, he's booking the shows. Poor guy, he's having to do all that and they keep postponing. And then he has to, he's just doing it all by himself. He's got no team of people behind him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's not easy.
He's just booking Canada and all that. A lot of it's just kind of prospective, I think. You know, he's got to try it and hoping that they're not going to cancel. And if they do, then it's just a postponement, which is better than a cancellation.
No doubt, no doubt. Zeus, what else you got?
Yeah, well, I guess Spike's feeling better, right?
And he has to. I mean, he does what I would never want to do on Facebook, and that is weed through all the Facebook promoters and stuff.
Yes.
So you can imagine all the people messaging him and saying, hey, how much to do a show in my backyard for my birthday in Hoboken, and then he's
that's where I'm from.
Yeah, but which is fine, but it's right, but it's different if it's like we're touring through there anyway, or if they're planning on having us all fly in, and they may have the best intentions and everything, but they just don't realize the reality of the situation of how much flights are and hotels, and they might be like, oh, you stay at my aunt's house in Bensonhurst, and it'll be cool, and it might be cool, but Spike's the one that figures that out, and it's like, he's the bullshit meter. See if he might give someone a chance, or he might just say, nah, we'd like to.
That's a great name for a song, bullshit meter. I like that.
Yo, Gutter Christ from Gutter Christ Productions. This is Thrash Talk Podcast, asshole.
Hi, I'm Diana Lynn Van Candy, and I have got my second interview with one of my favorite bass players,
David Ellefson.
And who you're playing right now. We don't have a...
She doesn't have a name yet.
No name yet. It's for sale, though.
It is for sale.
It's for sale.
So if someone wants it, they can take it home and they can name it.
Perfect. Does everybody, do you name yours?
I don't.
No.
To me, basses are like watches or shirts, or I'm like, what color should I wear tonight?
Right.
Let's put the black one on.
So you don't have a name. You just go by the color.
I have silver ones. I'm like, yeah, let me wear the silver one tonight.
So how many basses do you have?
Well, I had. It's funny. I was getting rid of, as I do in times in my life, I'll move some old stuff out. Mm-hmm. And so I got rid of, I think, I don't know, maybe 20 basses. And somehow I ended up, now I have 30. Wow. So I don't know how, maybe women are like this with clothes. Mm-hmm. You say, I need to clean out my closet, and I'll get rid of 10 basses and 15 more show up at my house. So now I have more. I think it's this, I don't know, it's just like some spiritual law of money that the more you get rid of, the more that comes your way, or something.
And you can sell them when you do conventions.
Yeah, no, they are fun.
We are at another one. We're at New Jersey HorrorCon, kind of towards the end of the first day.
Well, this is the Pennsylvania HorrorCon, right?
Oh shoot, yeah.
That's okay. It's all right.
Sorry.
You're from New
It's been a
Jersey.
long day. It's been a
You're
long
from
day.
New
No,
Jersey.
I'm from New York.
Oh, okay.
I drove through New Jersey.
Okay.
I don't even know where
That's
we
what
are.
it is. You went through New Jersey.
But it's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
We don't know where we are.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am. Anyway, all right, so we're in Pennsylvania.
Allentown, and it's funny
We're in
because
Allentown.
I remember playing
Don't
here
know where
in
we are.
1980. You know, people come. Oh, I remember seeing you guys in 2001 or 2000. I don't know, 16 or something, right? And I'm going. I remember playing here in 1988 on So Far So Good So What Megadeth tour. We were on tour with Ronnie Dio. So we were doing Dio, Megadeth, Savatage, and Savatage, of course, has become Trans-Siberian Orchestra, right? So. That was my memory. We played Crocodile Rock, which was this like kind of cool.
I've heard about that place.
Cool, not the Elton John song, but a nightclub.
I worked out here, and everybody was going there.
To Crocodile Rock. Yeah, it was like the place to go, right?
Everybody would come there. The rockers would come in after.
It was
I never went
the
there, though.
L'Amours of Allentown, right?
Nice. I'm always at the Chance. That's kind of like my spot. But you're gonna be playing at Dingbats.
We are playing in Dingbats with the Lucid.
When does your tour start?
At Dingbats,
Okay,
ironically.
that's your first
So
show?
we've got a couple weeks of shows. It's May. Forgive me, I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but May 20th, 20th-ish, something like that is when we're starting. So, so we actually shot a bunch of videos. We've got some videos coming out in the next couple of months.
I saw one of them.
Yep, we got some more coming out in another week or a couple weeks, I guess.
Okay.
We're going to start putting some more out, and then we actually have some new songs. We actually have a group of songs that we're going to push out coming up, hopefully before the tour. So we've been working, even though we're like the most famous band that's like never been on tour.
What's going on, everybody? This is West Nihilistic Razor Blade Hand Grenade. You're watching Thrash Talk Podcast. Peace.
Hey, so now we're gonna go back to the interview with Kurt from DRI. Anyways, so after this tour, you guys got any plans of going overseas, Europe yet? I mean,
yeah, we have a European tour booked. Yes.
Yeah.
Festivals. We usually do several festivals, big ones. Those are like the anchor dates, I guess, and then we fill that in playing club shows. We do pretty good over there.
No doubt.
Getting close to the battlefield now, but
yeah. Oh well, so we're on that top. We're gonna go to our 3 segments right now of the podcast. There's 3 questions. So one is, why can't we all just get along? And basically, just like, look. I mean, with everything going on today, with the division in this country, with everything that's happening overseas right now, with the pandemic that just kind of sizzled out, and we're right into Putin firing shots on another country. It's fucking crazy. Crazier than
yeah, but China's now having another big uptick in the pandemic, which usually they go first and then everybody else follows. So
true. Yeah, I heard about that. I hope that there's some new fucking thing leering out, just as everybody's wanting to go out and burn their face masks. It's unbelievable.
Well, eventually they're gonna run out of letters in the alphabet, to name, went to the American alphabet, the Greek alphabet, but
yeah, they said something about England had some new thing that's going on over there or something. I don't know.
Well, it's funny because when we first went out on our first tours after the pandemic, the guys in the band were saying like, we're going to wear masks, in the van and social distance all the time. And I'm like, I'm going to be out there at the merch booth the whole time, and they're all like, oh yeah. So, after a little while, they weren't even wearing masks anymore or anything. So
bodysuit. Kurt got to stand there with an astronaut suit on at the merch booth.
Yeah, and at first I was wearing it, unless I was taking a sip of a beer, and pretty soon I wasn't even wearing it.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, what are you gonna do? It's unbelievable. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. It's our foodie segment on Thrash Talk Podcast. Big Zeus, I know you like to eat, bro.
Oh, dude, you kidding me? This guy, Texas guy, brisket, steaks.
What do we got, Kurt? What's your favorite spots out there, man?
I'm a big feaster, and I since the pandemic started, I don't go out much to eat. When we're on tour, we eat out every day.
Yeah.
So when I come home, I'll usually cook my own food and stuff like that. But yeah, I like I was saying after this is over, I'm going to a friend invited me to an ice house, and we're going to be eating a crawfish boil.
Oh, there you
Right,
go.
mentioned that
Nice.
before,
Yeah, which they serve it by the pound, so you just you order a certain amount of pounds, and then they just bring it out and
Wow.
either dump it on your table or whatever.
That's some down home Southern shit, huh?
I know, it's fun. You go to other countries, like say Mexico, and you order some crawfish, and they give you like 6 on a plate, like they're shrimp or lobsters or something. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I wanna fucking,
You got to eat like 100 of
There you
them.
go.
I know it's silly, and then they charge a lot for it. But I realize in Texas is probably in Louisiana and maybe just the United States in general, the only place you're going to get big old buckets of them like that for cheap.
Word. And what about the barbecue now down there?
Yeah, barbecue, steak, all that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of barbecue restaurants here, and if they've been around for a while, they're probably pretty good because there's a lot of competition.
Oh yeah.
And we have a place now because everybody in the band are foodies. We mark on our Google Maps, like restaurants that we like.
Yeah.
And so we go back to them. And there's a place in New York, and now I can't remember, but it's like between 2 cities where we always play, and upstate New York or something. And we always go there, and it's
Nice.
for New York, it's pretty damn good. And I don't know if they're from Texas or something, but the main difference for those up north barbecue places is they have a large selection usually of sauces. Barbecue sauces on the table.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, in Texas, there's usually just the one. They ask you, do you want sauce or not? And that's it. They have their own sauce. You don't get a selection.
Nice. Now we're Jersey, so over here the pizza's ridiculous. On the East Coast, it's probably the best pie. New York and New Jersey. How's the pizza out there?
Yeah, not as good.
I know we were talking with the West Coast guys on the last
Rob
podcast.
Duke.
Rob Duke's like, hell no pizza or Chinese out here.
I try when I'm in New York City. I try to go back to the same place, my old haunts.
Yeah.
From back in the early '80s when I was starving and living there, and we'd get like a $1 a day. And me and Spike were laughing about it the other day because we would get $1 a day. It was our per diem.
Jesus.
If we had the money, but that was all you got. And I would either get a slice of pizza or like a 40-ouncer or those baby cheesecakes, those fat little things, I'm talking about, they would have in the corner stores.
Yeah, nice.
Because that was weighed like a fucking pound, it seemed like back then. I don't know about now, but that's what it seemed like. Or I would get a really good bagel and cream cheese. So either one of those that'd be my whole meal for the day. And Spike said he would get a pack of cigarettes. That would be his per diem, and now we'd be fucked because they cost a lot more than that.
Let's go on to the next segment. So this next segment is, who's your favorite rapper? Kurt.
My favorite rapper. I really like NWA, the whole band, the whole deal. And all those guys. Eazy-E has that certain voice. It's so great.
Yeah.
But then, if you listen to his other stuff, it's all just those same songs,
Yeah.
that he did with NWA, and he had basically just kept repeating those same songs. I would have liked to have seen what he would come up with after that.
I was an Ice type of guy.
If he would have kept going and everything, I think he would have given all these other rappers a run for their money. So I'd have to say Eazy-E. I really liked his voice.
I was gonna wear my Eazy-E shirt today too. That's crazy.
Oh.
But no love for Vanilla Ice, man. He's a Texas guy, right?
I did not know that.
So man, that's our 3 segments. Let's get back into the questions, a couple more for you, and then we're gonna call it a day. Zeus, what else do you got for him here?
Back in the day, obviously you haven't recorded stuff recently, but the difference between the live experience and putting a record together, which did you prefer back in the day?
That's a good one.
Live back in the day, live now.
Okay.
Yeah. These guys.
I'm not a studio guy, because for the vocalist, especially when I'm not involved in all the producing and all that, it's just a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, it's true.
I remember we'd be like going to do the 4 of a Kind record, we'd all fly down to LA, and I'd just be in a hotel room for like 2 weeks. We'd practice and get ready to go there, but then I'd be in a hotel room for a few weeks
waiting
while they're in the studio, and then finally be like, all right, we're ready for you.
Yeah.
And then I would come in and, just not really rehearsed well or whatever, and then just get right onto it. Probably do like a song or 2 a day.
Yeah, I could tell you're a live guy. I mean, you guys definitely play a lot live, and yeah, I actually like both, doing both, because I love.
And we try to do on some of, at least the last records I know, we tried to do at least one live in the studio song.
Okay.
Because we do like scratch tracks usually, so like we'll all play together, but then we're just keeping the drum tracks.
Yep.
And then we come back in later and put the guitars in, and then the bass or whatever, and then I don't know if it's that order, but and then then coming back and put the vocals and then the backup vocals. So some of them will just, at least one song will just keep the whole live deal, just to give that live feel to it.
Well, 40 years of DRI and going, and this is great. It was great to have you, Kurt. We appreciate you very much for what you've been doing in the scene. Thrash Talk Podcast is sponsored by Trip Squad Unlimited, the home of New Jersey hardcore and riffwear.
What are you gonna do? Should I go outside?